Both of these players, I think, very well known, true and unbelievable, complete badass. Ended up taking the NA Ladder Heroes multi-finals that happened immediately after this one. But the question is, how did he do in EU? As we can see, obviously a very, very well-accomplished player representing Psystorm Gaming, and feeling pretty good about ZVP these days, I would say. Harstem, of course, every year is the year of Harstem, including 2017, and I expect nothing less from the man from the Netherlands, who is actually teamless ever since he left Team Invasion Esports. Now, his PvZ is looking pretty damn good, as he has almost a 69% win rate, and of course, this screen is a little bit broken right now. Do apologize. Let's see if we can fix that. As we hop back, we're gonna call it on that. Either way, it should be a very, very cool and exciting match as we get ready to hop in and introduce the players in our last round of 8 match before we hop into the semifinals. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the pink Protoss player. Give it up. The man, the myth, the legend, it's Harstem. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player representing Psystorm Gaming. Put your hands together for True. Alright. Protoss versus Zerg. Now, I have not seen too many of Harstem's PvZs as of late, or at least nothing really comes to mind super strongly. So, I'm really interested to see what he's been up to. Whenever I think of Harstem, I always think of his Protoss versus Terran, because there have been points in time where I would watch his PvT and just think, wow, this is what PvT is supposed to look like. This is what a good Protoss player is supposed to look like. Not always the case. Harstem is definitely a player who has had his ups and downs throughout his StarCraft career. But he's going to be up against a player that's not afraid to take some risks. And speaking of risks, already seeing True go for that 3-hatch before pool. 3-hatch gas then pool, I think. Pool and gas coming down around similar times. But does allow him that kind of extra economic benefit. And I do wonder how Harstem has been playing his PvZs lately. There are, of course, all those metagame changes that have been happening on Proxima Station. You have Abyssal Reef with all the Stargate stuff. I mean, it's impossible to talk about PvZ without bringing up the whole air toss of big carrier fleets. But there's also a lot of other things that we've seen many Protoss players do pretty successfully, I would say, throughout the day. I have really been digging the trend for more Protoss players to open up with a fast Stalker, though, over just going for the Adept or double Adept openings. I love the idea of just shutting down that extra vision, making it harder for the Zerg player to really see what exactly is going on, and a Chrono Boost on that Stalker is going to allow him to get a guaranteed pick off on that first Overlord. And second Overlord, you'll also have to be careful. Eventually, the Mothership Core will pop out, but it's not exactly coming out just yet. So he's going to be able to sit there for a little bit longer. But this does, again, shut down quite a bit of the vision. Realistically, True only has 2 Overlords on this side of the map. And this Stalker shutting down 1 Overlord, second Overlord, and says, poke forward, and then, okay, now I know the Stalker's going to be coming back. I don't want to mess with this. But as soon as the Mothership Core comes out, Stalker should be able to chase back that Overlord even further, and I would be a bit surprised unless True goes for some kind of Overlord speed upgrade. He's going to be very much in the dark about what Harstem is planning to do, because he has no vision whatsoever of this. Doesn't even have any Zerglings out on the map right now, so he's playing very, very conservative off of that 3 hatch before pool. Now, Harstem, on the other hand, if we take a look at his vision, what has he seen? He's seen the pretty quick 3rd hatchery, so he should know exactly what kind of build he's up against. Stalker also going to be able to pick off that Overlord, and I don't think it should... Actually, it's going to very mildly supply block True, but not for very long. No, he actually ends up making an evolution chamber and frees up some supply. Overlords also finish up just barely in the nick of time, so no supply block whatsoever. True's on top of it. Harstem getting out that robotic facility. Ooh, gets out the really fast Immortal. Wardy was talking about this. It's not something you see Protoss players do super often, but I guess it's becoming more of a trend in the meta as Protoss players go for this really fast Immortal and then pump out a Warp Prism, load up maybe 2 Adepts, with the Immortal and just go across the map and try and make some damage happen. And there is going to be that first Adept. Looks like he warps in a Sentry, so maybe it's just going to be an Adept and a Stalker. Does an Adept plus a Stalker attack one-shot a Worker? I believe an Adept does, what, 24 damage? And a Stalker does 16? I think that might be exactly enough to one-shot a Worker, but maybe we'll end up finding out soon, as there is that drop moving across the map. No third expansion taken just yet for Harstem. Sentry holding the fort down and gets the force field down more than enough time. Using up a bit of energy, but better that than, I would say, Photon Overcharge energy right now, because he's not going to need that energy to really hallucinate Phoenix Scout for a bit. He's moving into the main base. Gotta be so careful, though. There's so many Zerglings out for True. He's stuck around on just 44 workers and is going to have absolutely no problems cleaning this up. Immortal and the one Adept managed to survive and load up back into the Warp Prism, but Harstem really wanted to get some more damage done with that. It was not by any means an all-in. He's adding on a couple extra gateways now. I think actually going up to a relatively high number. That's 5 gateways? Oh, that's more than 5 gateways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gateways. This is going to be a big all-in. And True, having stuck around on such a low worker count, is this going to backfire on Harstem? Does he even go out for the attack after seeing how many Zerglings True ended up making? The counterpoint to this is, well, True made a lot of Zerglings. Sorry, I unmute the game sounds. True had a lot of Zerglings, sure, but he made them very early on, so that means that he wasn't really mining with a lot of those units for a much longer period of time. And that means his economy may not be the best in preparation for this big attack that Harstem's throwing out. Zerglings streaming on over to that third expansion, confirming there is no third expansion attempt. Full wall off coming out from Harstem. He's got the Photon Overcharge available for the defense, and it's going to be all up to True with these Zerglings and the Spine Crawlers to try and make a defense work. Guardian Shield being used, if not for anything but the Spine Crawlers, focus firing them down with those Immortals. Force Fields do get knocked down by the Ravager shots, and Zerglings coming in from the surround and actually picking off a couple of these Adepts as they warp in, but majority of the army is force fielded out. Harstem taking not too bad of an engagement, but needs to pick up these Immortals. Ends up, I think, just barely saving 2 of them on the back line, but now the Warp Prism going to be under fire from the Corrosive Vials. One more would have done some serious work, but it looks like it's going to be enough. True pushes back the army. Immortal number 1 gets sniped off. GG gets called, and True takes game number 1. After having such little vision, after really only seeing... Oh, whoop, that's the wrong screen. After really only seeing... Yeah, my opponent is not immediately going to try and just go for a quick third expansion. I know it's not an early third expansion. I don't know if there's a third expansion. You could see how late he was still scouting around to see, what are you doing? I don't know, because I lost all my overlords early on, but still was able to make the hold work. Was still able to really simply and cleanly close out that game. Well, we get ready to hop into the next game. What is with my overlay? XSplit is just acting up so much today. Because apparently it just doesn't want to load up any of my text screens. That hasn't happened ever since I got a solid state hard drive. Alright, well, regardless, you guys don't have to stick around on that screen for very much longer, because here we are. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, top of the map, or on the map, Honor Grounds, we have the pink Protoss player. Give it up for Harstem, sitting down 0-1 in this quarterfinals match. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player from Storm Gaming, sitting up 1-0 and 1 game away from moving on to the semifinals for the second time today. Give it up for True. Honor Grounds is an interesting map. I am a little bit surprised to see it make it into the make it past the map vetoes, because I feel like I always end up seeing it struck by somebody. It's not necessarily that the map is a terrible map. I actually kind of enjoy the map. It's definitely a little bit different, and we end up seeing interesting decisions, like even when Protoss players decide to go for that low ground expansion and then take their in-base expansion a little bit later on, we see crazy drop plays coming out from players like True, who love their Overlord drop plays, especially on this kind of map, where there's just so much space for a Zerg player to work with and maneuver Zerglings around with. True did that kind of stuff, I think, versus Peely Peely, was it, on Honor Grounds? He did it versus somebody. I'm pretty sure it was Peely Peely. We'll see if he does a repeat of it. And I think it's so important for Protoss players. Yeah, you take your natural expansion on this map. I do like it more when Protoss players take their in-base natural rather than the low-ground natural, which can be a bit risky, and I'm okay with the risk. The real problem is when you have the drops in your main base and you have an in-base natural like this, leaving so much wide open area just gives the Zerg player too much room to maneuver. Too many areas where Photon Overcharge or Mothership Core or just Vision really doesn't exist. And that gives cheeky Zerg players like True too much room to work with, I think. But Harstem going to try and be annoying. 2 Zerglings are out and should be able to chase back that probe. True is going to be able to hide whether or not he takes the 3rd expansion, but of course, it would be a bit of a surprise if he didn't take that 3rd expansion. He'd have to be going for some kind of big Roach Ravager all-in, or maybe even just a Ling Bling all-in. Heck, maybe just a Speedling Queen all-in. He did do something similar to Peely Peely. I don't remember if he took a 3rd, though. Either way, going to be pretty difficult for Harstem to scout out unless he moves in with an Adept, which he did make one. But he's leaving that at home to cover up that wall in. He's getting up his Templar, or Twilight Council is getting up his robotics facility. So likely we're going to be seeing Resonating Glaives, going to be seeing a War Prism. We may end up seeing a Dark Shrine. And there it is, Dark Shrine. So his first real vision out onto the map is going to be once the Dark Templar have finished up, but... Whoa, True. What is this 3rd expansion location? Look at how close it is to Harstem's base. This is insanity. And I will give it to True. By ground, this is not that long of a distance. And it's not too far away from his quote-unquote natural expansion on the low ground. But I just don't know what I think about this. The War Prism's also going to scout this out, and War Prisms are so common. War Prism harassment is unbelievably common in this matchup. And if it wasn't a War Prism, it would have been an Adept that scouted this out, as this is the fastest attack path over to your opponent's side of the map. He was bound to see that there was an expansion taken over here. So I feel like this has got to be an aggressive expansion. And by expansion, I mean that in the loosest sense of the word. More like Larva Hatchery that's almost proxied because it's a little bit closer to my opponent's base. Looks like those drop overlords are finishing up. Where are they sitting? We got multiple at home. This means he's going to be loading up those queens once again. Similar build to what he did versus Peely Peely. GT number 1, though. GT number 1 and 2 working their way on the 3rd. Oh, this is going to be a big win for Harstem. Killing off an expansion for free. He needs to realize what he's up against, though. Why aren't the reinforcements coming? Why are there no drones here? Why is there no Spore Crawler? What were you planning to do? Zerglings come flooding on in. There is the Adept still at the wall, and he warps in one more unit. Gets the Photon Overcharge off, but he needs to have it back up. Okay, he warps in a DT. Oh, I love this. The DT is going to be able to hold the line for a little bit longer. DT is able to snipe off so many of these Zerglings. Queens are going to be able to unload, but there's still no forms of detection. And the War Prism, still holding those other 2 DTs, does not opt to go further in. Looks like this DT was actually trapped outside of his own main base. He's going to be able to make his way in now. Queens with Transfuse, yeah, they do well, but DTs are glass cannons. They do so much damage every swipe. I believe the Mothership Core was taken out, so the Zerglings could still potentially get some good damage done. Now able to work away at some of those pylons and some of the probes sitting over that natural. Probes transfer over the main base. Overlord is getting close, getting sniped off, and the Stalkers are focus firing it down, and Transfuse keeps it alive a little bit longer. DT's pushing back the Zerglings, and more DTs gonna be able to push back everything else. One of the Queens ends up going down inside of the Overlord. The rest of them end up falling, and GG gets called. True taps out. Harstem takes the game and evens up the series 1-1. The DT opening. So sick. I love those DT openings for those kinds of reasons. The ability to just shut down cheese with the DTs against early aggression. You have to make sure you don't take too much damage. The DTs have that problem where they'll do a lot of damage, but if there's nothing else for other units to attack. They can't kill your DTs. They're going to kill everything else around you, including your workers and everything else. But it works out well for Harstem. He does a great job and manages to take the game, bringing it to an ace match. We're hopping on to Newkirk Precinct. Excuse me. Getting a little bit of hiccups. Okay, final quarterfinals match. Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Game number 3 between these two players, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. We have the pink Protoss player was able to take that last game with a really solid defense, utilizing the DT tech. Give it up for Harstem. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have the blue Zerg player from Storm Gaming. Put your hands together for True. After that kind of game, I mean, Harstem was not looking to do anything super crazy. He was going to move in with the DTs. If you can find some damage, cool. If you can't, you lift them up. You make Archons. It's the same old thing that we've been seeing from Protoss players for almost maybe longer, 6 months or longer. But True, he had a clever build. Clever build, not quite clever enough against the kind of style that Harstem ended up going for, which is a good lesson, I guess, for any Zerg players that want to try something like that. If you're going to do it, maybe at least consider getting Spore Crawlers if you don't see anything from a Protoss player. You got to keep an eye out on your opponent. See what they're making. If they're not making a ton of units that can do a great job of, or don't really utilize that gas count, then you got to start asking questions. Where are your Adepts? Where are your Stalkers? Where are your Sentries? Alright, Harstem's probe, after planting down the Nexus and starting up that wall in, gonna make its way across the map and just confirm, because you know what, with True, you're never 100% certain that they're not gonna do something. He's not gonna do something a little bit cheeky. But Hatchery and Spawn Pool are gonna be finishing up. He did go for a hatch first. Hatch gas pool. Harstem has nothing to fear in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game. That's all I'm going to give him the guarantee of. There is always a potential for more to happen later. Overlord moves into a nice spot. We'll see how far it moves in. But Chrono Boosted Stalker comes out for Harstem. And I don't think he actually has... Okay, he does have vision of that high ground. He does see the Overlord. So he's going to immediately rally it over to that Overlord. I think he gets the pick off. I'm pretty sure he gets the pick off before the Overlord makes it over to the dead airspace. Where is the second Overlord of True? Oh, sorry. Those are the Queens. 1, 2... Okay, apparently I can't find the second Overlord. There it is. Alright, it's sitting over here. Still sitting outside the natural. Gonna turn into a drop Overlord. Oh, True's putting on the aggression again. Screw third expansions. He's already thrown down an evolution chamber. This is gonna be a different attack, though. This is not gonna involve the Queens. This is gonna be a pure speedling drop into the main base. Delay the third. It's still going to be taken, it looks like, but it's still going to be very, very delayed, so he needs to get some damage done. Twilight Council and a Robotic Facility being thrown down. That means, oh no, Harstem only sitting on 1 gateway. 1 pylon powering both of these buildings. Could be very annoying. Could delay his Resonating Glaives as well as his Robotic Facility production, but no, just going to go after the probes. A guaranteed damage. And getting quite a bit of that guaranteed damage. Just 5 workers already going down. We got a Dark Shrine coming out once again. Harstem trying to stick with a tried and true. But True is not going to have any of it. 7 workers killed and still killing some more. I think this final Zergling shouldn't kill any more. At a most, it'll kill 1 more probe, but really shouldn't be able to at this point. Stalker's over here, and we'll be able to pick away at it. And the Mothership Core should cover the main base as well. True doing a really nice job with the micro over here. Actually kind of out-microing Harstem a little bit. Adept is going to be able to get the final blow, though, and clean things up. But Harstem now sinks down 29 workers at a time when he really wanted... I mean, he can still, I think, barely afford to make 2 DTs when this Dark Shrine finishes up. The War Prism is still going to be coming out. It's still going to be hitting at the right time, but... I guess maybe... Oh, no. He won't have the gas for more than 2 DTs. I was going to say he had the minerals for it, but not the gas. Warp Prism can still make its way a little bit further across the map and maybe try and warp in 3 DTs or something. True's already seen the Dark Templar tech, though, and he's throwing down his Spore Crawler. He's saturating his 3rd. His Queen is already in position. He's making more Zerglings to help clean things up. I like the fact that Harstem sends out that Stalker and cleans out the Overlord, at least. DTs make their way into the 3rd. Gonna try and go after the Queen, it looks like. Might be able to get the pick off. Zerglings do get us around on the DTs. Gonna have to pick him up and back off. Probably make an Archon. And now he can maybe start to afford to make another Overlord. Alright, Zerglings now streaming on in over to the 3rd expansion of Harstem. Harstem doesn't have a whole lot over here to defend. The pylons will be useful for Photon Overcharge eventually, but that's only if they finish up in time with enough health. Photon Overcharge does come out adept in addition to that. If the Magic gets involved, he can probably save this with the Stalker. And okay, DT is definitely going to guarantee the save. Oh, but he doesn't get the block off, and now all the Zerglings stream into the main base. Harstem cannot cut a break. He doesn't have a pylon over there to Photon Overcharge. DT going to be able to work away at these Zerglings one by one, one-shotting them one after another. And now the Magic is out of position, and this Stalker is going to get completely ignored. Focus firing down those workers. I think that some DTs are getting some damage done inside the main base, maybe. It looks like the main base was getting some of the workers sniped off by the DTs, and I think the Warp Prism... Oh, Warp Prism got sniped off. Warp Prism with the DTs got sniped off. That's a huge deal. True taking a massive lead in this game. Even after losing 9 workers, he's still sitting up 57 to 46. Has his 3rd expansion. Something that Harstem only just now got, but doesn't really have a big defensible position. And Harstem has also been losing a lot of his units. Losing the Warp Prism is probably one of the most painful things as a Protoss player going for this kind of build, because that Warp Prism is your lifeline. It is the thing that keeps a Zerg player honest. It's the thing that keeps a Zerg player from just continuing to drone up and getting up all their tech and taking a 4th all at the same time. Because otherwise, you just don't really have too many units that can put deep amounts of pressure on. DTs, at this point, they're going to get scouted out by the Spore Crawler, if not by an Overseer with the lair already finished up. And speaking of which, Overseer now in the mix. Roaches and Ravagers making their way across the map. Looking to throw down some Corrosive Biles. Take out those pylons from afar. Archons have been morphed in. Archons sometimes can get out microed by well-controlled Ravagers. And there we see it. Pylon's not going to be long for this world. Harstem going to try and reserve those Photon Overcharges until he really needs it. If the Zergling reinforcements come in, that's when those Photon Overcharges and these back pylons really come in handy. I love the positioning of these pylons for Harstem. He has that 1 or 2 in the forward position. Oh no! Loses the Warp Prism again to Ravager Crucible. That should not have happened. Harstem warping in units or doing some macro. Something was happening. And he ended up losing some really important units. I think he might have been controlling the Adepts on the other side of the map. And he is doing some okay damage, killing off 2 workers, actually forcing back these units and gonna get a wraparound. Adepts catching all of these Ravagers, acting as a force field. Okay, that's a good start. DT also makes its way in. Now moving over to a location where he can try and get some more damage done, pulling the rest of the units out of position. There are a few Roaches inside of that natural expansion, and it looks like that DT is gonna get sniped off, but that means all the Roaches are in the wrong position. Harstem's going to get an opportunity to move into the right position over by this 3rd and start sniping off any of these units. He doesn't have any sentry. Oh, 1 sentry with some force fields would be beautiful over here, but there's still going to be a bit of a wraparound. Archons and these Adepts are going to get fully surrounded. Immortal also getting focus fire down for at least for the first part of this engagement. And with the Archons gone now, Adepts even canceling their shade, just saying to hell with it. We got to just try and retreat out and cut our losses. Couple of these Adepts do let their shades finish up, but True just has too big of an army supply lead. 115 with +1 missile attacks and +2 missile attacks on the way versus 42 army supply and 0 upgrades. Losing all the Archons, doesn't have a great immortal count, is making some getting up charge. But can you really come back from this? I think that True just moves across the map and may just end up winning this game. I hate to draw it so kind of anticlimactically, but True just did a fantastic job. Considering how scary this game could have been, with all the DTs and everything, he ended up doing a substantial amount of damage in the early game and has been able to secure that lead and keep it this entire game, which oftentimes can be harder than it sounds. Harstem threw out a lot of different forms of harassment attempts at True, and True just kept it together the entire time. He's now maxed out. He's got Zerglings and Reinforcements going to be coming in soon. Looks like these Adepts actually just free reigning on that natural. That's nice, but Harstem needs to hold over here, and does he really have enough? Couple of Force Fields going down, but I don't even think True cares to knock them down. He's doing enough damage. Forge, gonna get the next target, gonna cancel that +1 weapons. Charge finishes up, but there's no Zealots really able to be warping into anything. Half of the army for True doesn't even need to engage against Harstem. He's going after that third. He's gonna knock it down, and with it, the economy feeling good. I think that True is gonna be moving on to the semi-finals of the EU Ladder Heroes February monthly. GG, well played. Harstem put up a valiant effort, and I think that game might have looked a little bit closer if Harstem had not lost so many workers to those Zerglings running by. The fact that he was not quite able to clean up all those Zerglings, not only from the original Overlord drop, but then the additional Zerglings made their way into the main base, continuing the harassment just because his DT was out of position. The DT plus the Adept got a little bit too far forward. Always a frustrating feeling, I think, for any Protoss player, but at the end of the day, True reigns victorious and now moves on to face off versus Snoot in the semifinals. On the other side of the bracket, we also have another Zerg player, Nerchio, facing off versus Showtime. Okay, but at this point, we're going to take a very short break. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We are not done just yet. We still got both of our semifinals and our grand finals still coming. And I'm going to catch up on some Skype messages as well as get some more water, and we will be back in a little bit with more of the EU Ladder Heroes Monthly Finals.